Next up, it's CB, Down the Rabbit Hole, how a simple upgrade turned into a 2-line patch that never was.
Hello. So while I was working on my talk, I decided that it would make my life easier if I had a version of CMake that supported presets. And unfortunately, I was using Debian Stable, and the version in Debian Stable doesn't have that. So I thought, I know, why not just quickly upgrade it? And then I made my first mistake. I decided to build a D package so that I could easily install it rather than just doing the normal thing of downloading it and compiling it and installing it into user local. And it was all going swimmingly well. I kind of left it cooking. And then I came back to my terminal and it looked something like this. Exactly 1 out of 637 tests have failed. And I thought, I could carry on, maybe. But maybe I think I should probably investigate this and fix it. And maybe there's something that, when it comes for the maintainers to package upstream, they could benefit from the work that I do. So I thought, yeah, let's go for it. So luckily, when this fell over, it obviously told me that DH Autotest had been running the tests for me, and this command had failed. So I thought, oh, that looks good. That looks like something I could actually kind of test. So in the build directory, if I was to run that, let's just run it with -n so that I can see what would get built, what would get executed. And it's like, oh, yes. So it's running bin ctest, force new something, exclude some tests, because I happen to know that ctest takes a -E to exclude some tests and some timeout and stuff. And there's lots of noise in there. And I just wanted to kind of like the parallelism I don't really need, because I only want to run the one test that's failing. So I'll remove some of that, remove some of that. And now I'm going to change this. So rather than exclude one test, I'll only run the test that I know was failing. So that was called that. Yeah, that looks about right. So I'll still run this without thing and see what happens. Excellent. Right, I've reproduced the failure. But actually, even that's a bit complex, isn't it? Because if you look at it, it's just running this. And if you look at it, the timeout, it doesn't reach that timeout anywhere near. I'll leave that force test new ctest process just in case it makes a difference. Just run that and oh, that's a bit odd. So that's interesting. Maybe it's something to do with being run under make. Okay, to test that theory, so what would a make file look for something like this? Well, we'd have some sort of a target, and then a new line, then be indented with a tab. There'd be some sort of command, and then another new line. So, and the command we actually want to run is this. So, oops. I've gone deeply nested in something. It's all gone wrong. Start again. Get down as far as here. So yeah, that looks like the sort of make file I want to run. So I'll wrap it in some process substitution, make -f. And yes, so sure enough, the simplest possible make file, if you wrap it in that, it fails. Now, what I should have done, but I didn't do, is I should have just instead of just letting that print to the screen, I should have just piped cat. And now it passes. This is mysterious. It turns out that there's something wrong with the environment when you run it through make. So what I decided to do is, rather than run bin ctest, I would strace it so that I could see what's going on. Put the output into trace file. Follow forks, because I'm interested, because it's probably going to be fork a few times before I see it. I'm going to need to see all the environment, and that means making sure that the default string truncation is kind of long enough. So something like that. Oh, except I wanted to see the failed version, so get rid of the cat. Meow. Yep, that failed. So we have a look in the last 40 seconds, and we search for, and luckily this is saved in my search history, an exec of there. And what you'll notice is that there are some environments that are to do with running under make. In particular, there's this make term out thing. And it turns out that if you just run the normal ctest, which works, but then set this environment variable to anything, it suddenly fails. So I created a patch to do this. I rebased on top of master, only to discover that they've rewritten the tests to make my fix totally unnecessary. And so my only reaction to losing almost all of Sunday to this was...
That is beyond coding performance. Using my klaxon. I salute you, CB. What's the difference between a set of bagpipes and an onion? No one cries when you chop up a set of bagpipes.